Hi, I'm Yogi Delia, and I want to share a little about what it means to be a targeted individual. A friend asked me to talk about this, and honestly, there is so much to say that I worry I'll sound crazy just trying to explain it. That's the point of being a targeted individual, that other people would just think I'm crazy if I tell my story. Being a targeted individual often means that a person or a group, typically powerful or wealthy individuals, doesn't respect your set of values. Rather than physically harming you, their goals is to drive you to insanity or to push you towards suicide. These people manipulate others into harassing and stalking their target, forming a network of individuals who may not even realize they are participating in psychological warfare. Many of them just want to belong to a group and don't see the full extent of the damage they're causing. A few months after I returned from my last trip to the US, I was struggling with severe insomnia. One summer night around 2 a.m., I heard my ex from the US laughing loudly in my garden. He was a travel agent, so his presence there seemed completely out of place, almost surreal. When I told people, they agreed it sounded too bizarre to be real. 2 months later, a friend whose number my ex had told me he had tried to call me on the day I heard him in the garden, but she was afraid to tell me right away. She had seen the toll it had taken on me, how he had starved me to near death in less than 6 weeks, and how strung out I was when she picked me up from the airport. Well, over the years, the harassment has taken many forms. It escalated especially when I started traveling again. Americans I had known, or friends of them I'd barely met, began appearing in places I visited. They would show up unexpectedly at restaurants or in the streets. In one particularly unsettling encounter in Sri Lanka, someone appeared with their face painted like a cat, as if to remind me that I couldn't escape them. My nickname back then in the US was Catwoman. I don't want to be forced to relive the trauma I endured in the US, especially not while I was traveling and trying to recover from a serious illness like lupus. I had been seeking treatment in the East since the Western medicine had no solution for me. There have been other disturbing incidents, like someone drawing messages on the sidewalk outside my home, crude words about a former friend, along with the names of her children. Around the same time, a sudden cowboy was spotted stalking me in my neighborhood for days. Over the years, I have been stalked by multiple wealthy men following me in anything from limousines to helicopters, bicycles, and cars. The harassment often lasted for years before someone new would take over. They spread rumors about me, making it difficult to hold down jobs, inviting my CEO to their parties, who would tell the staff about it afterwards. At one point, my workplace, a hotel, was bombarded with 200 fake bookings, all of which had to be manually entered into the system before they were abruptly cancelled. At the same time, about 10 mafia members moved into the hotel. The man stalking me at the time was connected to the Southern European mobsters. Luckily for me, the hotel was owned by a religious group that handled the situation far better than I ever could. I think they suspected it had something to do with me, but even I couldn't prove that. They knew I wasn't involved with anything like that, and I felt completely supported by them. Shortly after I moved to the capital many years ago, something tragic happened. My ex from my old town passed away, and within the next 6 months, so did 3 of his closest friends. There was no investigation, and no one seemed to understand what they had been involved in, if anything at all. Years later, when I came to understand that I was a targeted individual, I began to look back on those events differently. It made me wonder if there was more to the story than I had realized at the time. But I had already spoken to the police about it, as just one more strange and unsettling incident that crossed my path. The truth is, none of this has anything to do with me, my goals, or the life I want to build. I don't even know these people. It's a hate crime that only exists in their minds. But those people getting free trips to Sri Lanka or India and possibly being paid to stalk me, they have to know they are on the wrong side of things, living in a dark world they don't fully understand. For years I asked myself, who is behind all of this? How and why does it happen? How do they find me? They have no right. My right for privacy is a human right. If I don't want to share my destination with them, it's not their business, and no one has the right to give them the destination. And they definitely don't have the right to follow me there. Having traveled in Tennessee for 5 years as a teen, I wondered if it could be someone from the Klan or a religious extremist who disapproved of my lifestyle, or even a woman rather than a man. But the truth is, I have no way of knowing. Learning about the concept of targeted individuals from private investigators in Tennessee changed everything for me. I even read that travel agents are sometimes involved in these networks, helping the perpetrators secure cheap flights to follow and harass their targets around the world. My ex was a travel agent, and that realization made things even more complicated. It made me question everything once again. Did he lure me to the US for a different reason that I believed to begin with? He claimed he would move to Amsterdam with me because I wanted to move there, and told me he could get a job at the airport. Well, I believed him. But he never intended to go. Did he just ask me to come over there to humiliate me? Threatening me that his family had strong connections with a big town sheriff, so I wasn't free to go. It never made any sense why they would want to keep me there against my will, either trying to frame me or to keep me there as a slave. Life outside of my windows has never felt safe. There are often stalkers around, and if they belong to a criminal group from other countries, criminal group from my country are most likely around too, looking for anyone they don't want in their territory. If they're wealthy, I imagine it's also an opportunity for them to make money through blackmail. Then there is the police and secret agents I've been in contact with for years, who keep an eye on everything. If it's someone famous, the press is there. People have been locking and unlocking themselves in and out of my apartment when I was not there, going through my things, logging into my computer from external drives, and leaving things behind as well in my apartment. It can get crowded out there in front of my windows. And everyone out there, except from the police, poses a physical threat to me. And I think in all societies that whenever one unwanted force shows up, there's a lot of other forces that tag along with them. And this can make the picture very, very blurry and incredibly confusing and scary. Then, as I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of what I consider murder attempts over the years, where people try to set me up for an accident, or sometimes it's even coincidental that their presence there creates a dangerous situation for me. I come from a two-income culture that values equality and independence, where people generally don't tolerate racism, sexism, or displays of arrogant wealth. At one workplace, there was an unfortunate rumor linking me to someone I briefly encountered at a bar for no more than 15 minutes while I was out with a friend. We left quickly because he clearly wasn't someone we wanted to be around. He was already trying to dictate how I should live my life in those 15 minutes. He turned out to be an alcoholic, and the idea that someone would pursue a relationship with an alcoholic just because he flies a private jet is frankly absurd. They thought he was a catch. But people seemed to lose their mind over these things as well. All insane. And still, I am the one seeing a psychiatrist. Not because I'm imagining things, but because I need support staying balanced in a situation that can feel overwhelming, and try not to conclude that there is a connection in between everything that happens. People who engage in stalking and harassment often have a distorted view of reality to an extent where they are momentarily psychotic. They believe so strongly in their false perception of a situation that they are willing to go to extreme lengths, sometimes to make me understand their point of view, or at worst, to make me suffer from disagreeing with them. Living under constant pressure with external and emotional burdens take a toll. Besides being financially deprived most of my adult life, being my friend can become quite a burden that most people can't carry either. At 20 years old, while I was willing to die for my set of values, if I'd been forced to stay, it wouldn't have lasted more than a few months, because I would have starved to death. The things I learned the last time I was in the US about his family committing crimes against humanity so horrific that I would choose death if it was the only way out. In the end, they let me go, but they're still there, doing everything to prevent me from living my life on my terms. And even now, I still fight for a final way out. Maybe we have to ask ourselves why we live in a society where we accept that treatment is only for the victims.